Hi, my name's Pharaoh, and today I'm in the depths of space because I've been what I would call pulse fishing. And now what I mean by that is I've been using my pulse drive to find the various space anomalies and other things that you can find when you're pulsing in systems. And the reason I've been doing that today is because of the new update Breach, which has brought wrecks. Now, one of the most common questions I've seen in the last 24 hours since the update arrived was, can you find wrecks outside of the expedition? Now, without spoiling the expedition, if you want to go and do that, there are wrecks in that expedition. They're deep space Corvette wrecks. And yes, you can find them in standard mode. You don't have to be playing the expedition. And this is my recommendation of the easiest way to find them. One of the ways I would try and find a specific thing like a wreck, which is an example of a space anomaly, is I would use a method called pulse fishing. And so what this is I would choose a system on the galaxy map. In this case, I'm going to choose an uncharted system. I know it's uncharted because it's not giving me any information about it. I would warp to it, and immediately upon arriving, I will pulse. Now, I've done this before, and to demonstrate that I know what's happening, when I pulse in this system immediately upon arrival, I will get a wreck. But it won't be the right type of wreck, it will be a freighter wreck. But it proves the point that these things are predictable, and any minute now, it will find one for us. And there's the freighter wreck. Now, I don't know for certain if you can get Corvette wrecks in uncharted systems, but my hunch is you probably can. So it at least avoids the more common things you might get. For instance, you might get a trader or someone that wants to fix their ship, and those things kind of get in the way of you fishing. So I like to fish in abandoned and uncharted systems. Now, you can also do this with the second thing. For instance, if we go to this system again, I'm warping to the same system. I went out and then come back again. And as long as I'm not pointing at that planet, and I pulse reasonably quickly, it has to be in the first few seconds. I'm not sure how many seconds. I'm not even sure if that's a variable in different systems, but usually this works out in the third. It pulse straight away is the advice. And instead of stopping when I first get a message, I'm going to wait. And specifically in this case, I would have waited if I was looking for a wrecked Corvette, because that was the wrong message. So space signal detected is not what we're looking for. Kind of should be, I think. It's like they've given it the wrong message, but we'll see. So I'm going to wait and see what the next thing is that pops up. And it should be roughly the same length of time as that one. Now, this kind of hunting can take a long while. I just did a cut because it's taking a while and you don't want to just watch me pulsing. And I'm going to continue to pulse, and if it doesn't pop up in the next few seconds, I'll cut again. But this is the nature of pulse fishing. And this is why it isn't necessarily the only method I would use. So this time I got a slightly different wreck. There are a couple of different types of wreck you can find, and this one is a different type of freighter wreck. This is actually more like the one that you see when you actually do a pirate mission. And because that took a long while, I'm not going to double confirm it, because I know from my own experience that this works. But if you go into a system and pulse and ignore the first signal and then keep going and see the second signal, that will also be consistent. So there is a way of finding different things in one system. It can be a little bit more productive to just go from system to system, do this, and see what the first one is each time. Now this method I find much more useful to do, not by pulsing immediately, but by making a save at this point, even if it's made a save. See, it's made an autosave, but it hasn't made a restore point here. So I'm going to get out of my seat, or if you're in an ordinary ship, you can get out of the space station. And as long as you use exactly the same method each time, or your freighter, as long as you use exactly the same method each time, then you can make this predictable. So I'm now going to reload that restore point. I'm going to immediately pop an anomaly detector and immediately pulse as soon as I see my ship. And as long as I use that routine each time, reload, click the anomaly detector, pulse, I will see the same thing each time. So I got an asteroid larvae, and I got it very quickly because anomaly detectors force it to happen. And it gets rid of things like traders and things you don't want. And I would now reload the restore point. And if I was fishing, I would probably do this twice this time. But just to demonstrate that it's consistent, I'll do it again. Just the once. And we get exactly the same thing. So if I go to reload restore point, what I would probably do is start a little tally. So I've done number 1. Now I'm going to do number 2. So I would click the anomaly detector. Obviously we're not using it up, we're just fishing with it. You could say it's save scumming. This is just the most efficient way to do it, I think. So there's the first one. Rare deep space object detected, and that is what we're looking for. If the next one comes up and it doesn't say rare deep space object detected, we can ignore it. It does. And this one is rubble of the first spawn. And that will always be the second one. And I can demonstrate that because this isn't taking quite as long. Reload restore point. Ignore the first one. For the second one. As you saw, it's predictable. As long as we do exactly the same thing in the system, we will find the same things. So I could continue with this process. I could do the third one or the fourth one. And if I find that there is a wreck on the fourth anomaly, then I will know that every time. I can always go there and find that same wreck. And therefore, I could then farm the parts from the wreck. So that's 2 methods you could use to find a wreck. But how do we get the anomaly detector? Well, there are a number of different ways of getting anomaly detectors. The first one is to find an asteroid belt. There's nearly always an asteroid belt near the space station. If we go to the space station itself, I'm slightly too close to pulse to it, so we fly to the space station. There is an asteroid belt. And usually you just look around. It's usually somewhere around the space station. They just seem to have set the spawns up that way. I think for early game players that need a bit of cash for like getting gold and silver or something like that. Or maybe just for tritium. You can fly out of the space station and get some tritium. And they have to do these things in the game because otherwise people can get stuck. It's one of the beauties and limitations of No Man's Sky is that they have to set things up so that every system has similar things. Now, this is going to take me a while. I might get lucky, but it's a 1 in 200 chance as far as the game files are concerned. And it's certainly borne out by experience. I could take a long while looking for an anomaly detector, and it certainly feels like it's a 1 in 200 chance. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean that I will definitely get one if I shoot 200 asteroids. I could have to find a couple of thousand asteroids in order to get one. And the next time I might get one the first time I shoot, because that's the nature of randomness. Each of these are, although it's not purely random, each of these are independent things. It can never be purely random because it's a computer game. Computers can't be purely random. But they can be pretty close to random, and No Man's Sky is based on randomness, so they know what they're doing. Now, I'm not going to do this right this second because it's going to take forever. I do have a recording of doing it previously, so I'll quickly show you that it is possible to get anomaly detectors this way. Yay, finally got one. That took quite a long while. Now, the other way to get anomaly detectors is to build up your reputation with the Explorers Guild. And the way we find Explorers Guilds is by looking in a particular region and seeing what the guild is for that region. If you look on the system I'm looking at, Oitel's Yeblo, it says Ayawanshi Cluster. I don't know if that's how you'd pronounce that, but it's a random thing. If I go to this particular space station, there's no way of knowing until I've been there. But if I go to this station in this region and see what the guild is, then every guild in that region will be the same. Now, this is the Merchants Guild. And so I'm not going to be able to get an anomaly detector from this guy. They just don't give them out. And I've not got the status anyway on this save. As your reputation builds, you can claim more of these things from the top to the bottom, where the bottom is available when you gain pretty much full reputation. So the way we would find a specific guild is we would probably go to each of the places we normally go to, like our home bases, and check what the guilds are there. And you can also check at Colossal Archives, where you'll see the same person. But what we want to do is go to a different region. So we want to go outside of Ayawanshi. Now, stars are clustered, so you can usually go across a little void like this. There's a void here. And this is a different region. And you can see there's hundreds of stars in this new region. And unfortunately, because I'm in an earlier game, I can't quite reach them. Give me a second while I warp to the new region. So as you can see, this borders, and I can just reach this one. So we're going from one region, Ayawanshi Cluster, to Emyanya Void. So we'll go there instead. Now, it's just out of jump range, frustrating. But that one isn't, so we can just get there. So now if I go to the space station, there's a 1 in 3 chance of it being the one we're looking for, the Explorers Guild. It could just be the same. It's not guaranteed to be different, but it will be another 1 in 3 chance. And so I would say, for simplicity, visit all your systems in your teleport list first, because you might have already come across a region that has this guild. But if you haven't got any in all of your teleported systems, then this is how you would do it on the galaxy map. And we've been lucky. This one is, I can see that that's the right symbol. This is the symbol for the Explorers Guild. It's kind of a stylized compass. And this is the slot. It's the one just before the bottom of the screen. And the artifact chart is the one that he's giving out. So anytime I come to this particular system, I will always get the artifact chart. But I can now hunt in this region, and I know I will always get the Explorers Guild. And one of them will, maybe quite a few of them, will be offering an anomaly detector. So this is sometimes a more convenient way of getting them. Also, we can build up our reputation by handing in things that we've got So I could sell that terrifying sample. It's probably worth quite a lot of money. Or I could just give it to the guild. I'm going to just give it to the guild for the purposes of this. So standing increased. And now if we... I've actually got more things I can hand on. I think I can probably donate up to 3 things like that. Now if I go to redeem, I have at least the first level. But it takes a long while. It's incrementally higher each time. So it takes a long while to get to this level. So it's not something you do without a reason to. Although I would suggest that it's actually a pretty good thing to do. Kind of early-ish in the save. And you can mainly get your reputation in another way by choosing guilds here. So this one's got mercenary standing +1, but I can't do that one because I haven't got enough standing with the mercenary guild anyway. But you'll see all of these are GEC because I'm in a GEC system, because this is quite early game. But if I actually do a couple of these GEC missions, I will start to see other guilds, and I might pick a specific guild to focus on, or I might just balance all of them. And you can see how well you're doing in your standing in the catalogue and guide. If you click on a particular race, that's always on this page here, and then it also shows you not only the races and not only your milestones, but your guild standing and your outlaw standing. So you can find how well we're doing. And in the Merchants Guild, I've got to get to 3 rank in order to go up to the next standing. And I have a total standing of 0 at the moment. So if I look at the Explorers Guild, I now have a total standing of 4. So that's been entirely built up just by giving them a few things. But I can also run missions. I haven't done any missions for them yet, and I can gain standing that way as well. So if you're one of those players that's enjoying building up Corvettes and you're looking for a different game loop instead of just going to planets or whatever other choice you make, because there are a few ways of getting Corvette parts, but this is a new one. If you want to do that and want a new game loop, you could do this. You could just warp from system to system, use the standard pulse fishing technique where we're not using anomaly detectors, we're just arriving in the system and immediately pulsing to see what we get in that system. And also, you have a chance of getting some of those items that the guild want, because the actual anomalies that you find in space, some of them when you shoot them, you get those items. So those items could then be taken to the space station, and you'd be going to those systems anyway, because it'll be a good idea to chart the region to see if you can find places where you can pick up the anomaly detectors. And even if you haven't got the standing, it's good knowledge to know, say, in Mabry, which it doesn't, but it would be good knowledge to know if it does or doesn't, so that when you actually have the standing, then you can use that method as well. So there's an implied game loop there. Pulsing, getting standing, getting anomaly detectors, more pulsing. Now, while we're on the subject, there is another method you can use to help with pulse fishing. And I really haven't looked into it that deeply, but I know that it's a possibility, so I'd be remiss to not mention it. And that is to go to a settlement where you have a tower that you've upgraded to S-Class. Now, on this save, I don't have such a thing, so I'm going to have to switch saves. So let me just get out of this one. While I'm in this save, this is an example of the full list. I have got the full standing with the Explorers, and as you can see, in the slot we'd be looking for, we get salvage frigate modules, another thing that's worth grinding for if you want to get the reputation with the guilds. So this is my most developed settlement, and right at the top of the tower there's a terminal. And if you take the tower to S-Class, then you can scan for space anomalies. Now you can see here that I need to wait another 14 hours to scan for space anomalies again. But you can do that, and that way it's a little bit like using an anomaly detector. Now obviously that's nowhere near as effective as using an anomaly detector, because I'm having to do that and now I'm going to have to wait for 24 hours. Theoretically, you could save just before here, getting your ship, pulse, see what you find. I'm not sure. I've not really experimented whether that's predictable or not. I feel like there might be too many variables for that to be predictable, but at least you can search for a wreck that way. So as you can tell, you do need to be a little bit lucky to find them. I was lucky in the process of recording the video for this, but in a slightly earlier draft, which I abandoned, but I at least have the footage for that. So let me show you that. For context, I was describing the process, and then you'll see what happens. It says object is searching for its host. You go into pulse. And on the bottom of the screen, you see it's probing wavelength, detecting nearby stellar anomalies, and then it will pop up. And we're looking for the rare deep space objects. Unfortunately, that's most of them. But it looks like I've been really lucky and immediately found my objective, which is a wreck. We can get out of our ship. Got a handy stairs here. I think from what I was experimenting earlier, you can just shoot these with your ship if you have to. But it's fun. It's much more fun to do it this way. And there we got a twin sublight, a domed casing. And I got a Kinostream something or other and the aerofoil. So there you have it. A couple of ways you can consistently find wrecks in No Man's Sky in the standard game. I've been Pharaoh, travel well, and goodbye for now.